And we are back, and welcome to the 1980s. One decade was still so popular, still so many people still talk about the 1980s to this day. And a lot of great TV show during the 1980s. And plus, of course, one you love to hate, and of course the show end up on top. And sitcom like Dipper Schroed, The Fast Light, and of course, Gold Pain. A lot of other this back in the 70s, you had All the Family, Hawaii Five-O. And of course, the list is going on in that decade called the Wonder Woman. Cause that was in the 70s. It's gone. The 1980s. We had Dallas, and of course, J.R. Ewing. Oh, J.R. Ewing. He cheated on his wife again. Oh, he got caught. Yeah, I know, that was funny, but damn. And of course, by the way, the first year in the 1980s, and of course, started high school, we're still owing. And of course, the thing, the problem is fight, Billy and Raz. I don't know what happened much by the 1980s, but I'm too young to remember that. But it's they on the people who went to that school during the 80s. And of course, one of my church members went to Stutter High School, came out in 1980, but I'm not going to mention her name, or here's her name, I leave that alone, because that day generation. But things happened in the 1980s. And one sad thing happened on a night on December night, also making December 8, 1980. Former Beatle John Lennon was shot and killed right in front of his white local arm when they returned from records to him. The guy Machaco who killed him, he considered a life sentence in prison for his memory. I remember the fans. I remember watching the new clip on YouTube. I know it's so heartbroken for everybody to see their favorite member of the Beatles who gone too soon, only 40 years old. I know how I could say during the Monday Night Football game, okay, it was an unseen tragedy to see that. But the music survived. I know his legacy will live on from that paper. They will never forget him. I know everybody still remember him 35 years since that tragic moment. That's sad right there. Alright, we're going to try and switch gears on the most lighter side. In 1980 now, I'll talk about I mentioned earlier about Dallas. I know who shot J.R. Ewing. I know that was the most talking through the summer when the last show back in March. Yeah, somebody pulled the trigger, they shot JR. They didn't know who shot JR. You gotta wait for the whole summer to find out. Until the new season, because they still find out if we'll review with Suez system. Kingdom shot JR Ewing. Yeah, that was gotta be one of those talk about series all the time right there. But that other show side, Dallas, we got Knots Landing, Dynasty, Ninth Water, and of course, man, a lot of his name, A-Man, Dipper Word, a lot of other stuff. But you got Soul Train, Don Cornelius was still the man, wholesome in the 80s. And of course, you got pop culture music like the Jackson, Michael Jackson, Janet Jackson, and called The Barge, and Royal Shalimon, and what what else? Ray Parker Jr. and of course Barbara Brown, New Edition, Johnny Gill, Empress, Abby Shug, McDonald, LL Cool J. The names go on in music in the 80s. You know, music, they were in the hip hop, were born by the way in the 1980s. And hip hop trending first, the network BET, MTV was launching. And BET launched in 1980. 1 year later, MTV was launched in 1981. And of course, Nickelodeon. I forgot about that network. It debuted on late 1979 before the 1980s came. And of course, we got a class who graduated in the decade of 1980. 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, and 1989. Those are the people who was around graduated in that decade of 1980s. Man, y'all in the blast of fun time and entertainment wise also. And the best movies in the decade, you know, we got Superman 2, 3, and Superman 4 was mixed reaction. I know Superman 4 probably did good, but some people, Superman 4 is not the best movie. Some say it's the best movie, and it's a mixed reaction, but it would stay mixed reaction. But anyway, it still show Superman 3 and 4 on TV today. I know probably don't see that much on TV, but it's still showing. And of course, that's where the very first film, and of course, the second film as well on TV. And of course, it's pop culture in DVD stores everywhere. But back then, it was on VHS. On our VHS. And of course, we got a movie named The Shining, came out in 1980. And Joan, The Radio Lost All came out in 1981. And of course, we got two more and Joan came out in that decade, 84. You know, that Temple of Doom, and 89, The Last Crusade. And of course, we got two more Star Wars movies came out that decade, 1980, Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back. And of course, The Return of the Jedi, the final Star Wars movie right there. Before they brought it back in the 90s, but I will do explain about the 90s coming up on my next video. Before I say goodbye on the 1980s, well, no, you know, a lot of things good in the 1980s, you know, everything fun, and of course, President Reagan, who cheated death back in 1981, like he was survived assassination attempt. And you know, all the person was intended to shoot the president. He would probably shoot a cop, but and Burke got the president. But John Hinckley Jr. well, and nobody died on that day. John Hinckley Jr. But if somebody in the died that day, John Hinckley Jr. may end up get 100 years in prison. Look, everybody survived one gunshot wound. And of course, one of my life funny side about Ronald Reagan, I forgot to put up. Yeah, well, no, he's a tough old man, but luckily he fully recovered from his injury. And that God bless for him, that allowed him to continue president for the next couple of years. One tragedy moment during the 1980s, well, 1986, the year before. That's the year I was born. I was born in, some of you care, I was born in 1986. Just 7 months after that Space Shuttle Challenger exploded during takeoff. I know some people remember that, saw that on TV, but I know it was sad right there. See that the ground space shuttle program for 2 years before we returned back to space in 1988. We discovered that was a blessing because we're not gonna back it down because a tragic moment happened in 1986. But 1988 was also a year right there. Space shuttle returned to space. Empire Day One show, a popular children's program, debuted in October 6, 1986, was Double Dare, which is hosted by Mark Summer. And created the biggest minute of television, with aired on Nickelodeon for 7 years, ran from 1986 and to 1993. Had more on Double Dare in the 90s portion. And of course, Family Feud with Richard Dawson was the pop culture show in the 1980s until with Fortune Came On. By the way, Family Feud was debuted back in 1976. The same year, A Price is Right debuted, but it was 1972, The Price is Right. And of course, Bob Barker was the host. I know that's a crazy thing for Bob Barker did back in the 70s when you were younger. But I remember watching one episode for 1981. He was running, trying to get away from the Samoan contestant. That was the 1981 episode. And of course, Richard Dawson was the host of Family Feud from 1976 to 1985. It almost, that'd be 10 years, that hosted the feud. But he don't want to do it anymore, so he left the show. And according to the movie debut in 1984, by the way, The Terminator would start on shortly later. It later became a sequence for the next couple of Terminator films in the years to come. And the very first one is always be a smash hit. And of course, other movies list going on. And of course, American Bandstand, the show It One in 1989. Actually, been around a long time, hosted by Dick Clark, by the way. But Dick Clark still the man bring you the New Year's every year. And of course, one thing, say my fine thing before I go, Family Feud, by the way, did return, starred host Ray Cohn in 1988 in syndication and of course the daytime further. But it's time to say goodbye, 1980s, and hello, the 1990s. The 1990s will be coming out on my next video, so stay tuned.